Today is October 8th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today at Big Book, we are going to continue our journey through Chapter 6 in action. We'll be reading the first part of page 86. Out of the 12 and 12, we're going to continue our journey through Step 12 by reading page 111. And of course, we'll read today's daily reflection and 24 hours a day. So with that, hope you all are doing well this morning, my friends. So as I'm recording this, it is pretty darn hot in this garage this morning. So I have the fan going full blast here. Sorry if it makes, I'm going to try my best to edit it out of the podcast. But if it does sneak into the audio today, I apologize. But yeah, a little bit sweaty here in the garage this morning. But hope you all are doing well. We've once again been given a brand new set of 24 hours, and that is always a good thing. So let's get to the good stuff. All right, so if you recall from yesterday's reading, we have been journeying through, Step 9. We talked about the 9-step promises a couple days ago, and we talked about having to work this program daily. As a matter of fact, the last paragraph we read, every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. A daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. So we'll start on the bottom of 85 and read part of 86. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It'd be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others? Of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs. Page 111. We may often pass through 12-step experiences where we will seem to be temporarily off the beam. These will appear as big setbacks at the time, but will be seen later as stepping stones to better things. For example, we may set our hearts on getting a particular person sobered up, and after doing all that we can for months, we see him relapse. Perhaps this will happen in a succession of cases, and we may be deeply discouraged as to our ability to carry AA's message. Or we may encounter the reverse situation, in which we are highly elated because we seem to have been successful. Here, the temptation is to become rather possessive of these newcomers. Perhaps we try to give them advice about their affairs which we aren't really competent to give, or ought not to give at all. Then we're hurt and confused when the advice is rejected, or when it is accepted and brings still greater confusion. By a great deal of ardent 12-step work, we sometimes carry the message to so many alcoholics that they place us in a position of trust. They make us, let us say, the group's chairman. Here again, we're presented with the temptation to overmanage things, and sometimes this results in rebuffs and other consequences which are hard to take. But in the longer run, we clearly realize that these are only the pains of growing up, and nothing but good can come from them if we turn more and more to the entire 12 steps for the answers. "24 hours a day, October 8th. AA thought for the day. There is such a thing as being too loyal to any one group. Do I feel put out when another group starts, and some members of my group leave it and branch out into new territory? Or do I send them out with my blessing? Do I visit that new offshoot group and help it along? Or do I sulk in my own tent? AA grows by the starting of new groups all the time. I must realize that it's a good thing for a large group to split up into smaller ones, even if it means that the large group, my own group, becomes smaller. Am I always ready to help the new groups? Meditation for the day. Pray and keep praying until it brings peace and serenity and a feeling of communion with one who is near and ready to help. The thought of God is balm for our hate and fears. In praying to God, we find healing for hurt feelings and resentments. In thinking of God, doubts and fears leave us. Instead of those doubts and fears, there will flow into our hearts such faith and love as is beyond the power of material things to give, and such peace as the world can neither give nor take away. And with God, we can have the tolerance to live and let live. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may have true tolerance and understanding. I pray that I may keep striving for these difficult things. Daily Reflection, October 8th. Daily Inventory. And when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 59. I was beginning to approach my new life of sobriety with unaccustomed enthusiasm. New friends were cropping up, and some of my battered friendships had begun to be repaired. Life was exciting, and I even began to enjoy my work, becoming so bold as to issue a report on the lack of proper care for some of our clients. One day, a coworker informed me that my boss was really sore because a complaint, submitted over his head, had caused him much discomfort at the hands of his superiors. I knew that my report had created the problem, and I began to feel responsible for my boss's difficulty. In discussing the affair, my coworker tried to reassure me that an apology was not necessary, but I soon became convinced that I had to do something, regardless of how it might turn out. When I approached my boss and owned up to my hand in his difficulties, he was surprised. But unexpected things came out of our encounter, and my boss and I were able to agree to interact more directly and effectively in the future. Alright, my friends, that concludes today's reading. Man, love the big book reading today. Pages 86 and 87 are some of my favorite pages in the entire book because they're so practical, telling us how we can work all these steps throughout this set of 24 hours that we're given. And it starts off with the evening. Right here, when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. That means we don't have to just write in red ink. Okay, what were some things we got right? What were some things we got wrong? And were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe anybody an apology? Have we kept anything to ourselves that we should discuss with somebody we trust? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of others? These are all things that we can ask ourselves. These are all things I can ask myself at the end of the day. And say if I screwed up, I love this line right here. But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or this was one for me, morbid reflection. So in other words, don't beat yourself up over it. Ask for forgiveness. Learn from the mistakes. Do better next time. It's as simple as that. Life for me is too short to have all these regrets. It's too short. And I love this. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken next. But we get right back on it. I love it, because this would help us with our usefulness toward others. Great stuff. But anyways, my friends, that's all we have time for today. I do want to share an email that we received, Big Book Daily, bigbookdaily@gmail.com. Very, very grateful for this email we received from a dear friend, Margaret K. She says, "Good morning, Rob. I enjoy your reading and your soothing voice and love your shares." Well, thank you so much. I've been in recovery for a few 24 hours and always like to keep it new and interesting. I never take my recovery for granted and take it one day at a time. I may have another drunk, but I know I do not have any more recoveries. Thank you for your service, and if you choose not to continue, I will replay them all. In love and light, Margaret. Thank you so much, Margaret. That means so much to me. I really appreciate the email, and good on you. I love that you're always trying to shake it up. And I know you've been in recovery for quite some time. Margaret and I have exchanged a few emails over the year, and it's been wonderful to hear just somebody else's experience, strength, and hope. And Margaret, if you ever want to share your story on the podcast, or ever want to come on the podcast and talk about your experience, strength, and hope, let's get that arranged. I would love to do that. And again, I really appreciate the email. So with that, my friends, that's all we have time for today. Hope you all have a great one. Hope you all enjoy this set of 24 hours we've been given. And if we're given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.